achievements made and promoting the rule of law in the new era. Let's listen in.
女士们、先生们，下午好！欢迎大家出席中共中央宣传部新闻发布会。今天的发布会是我们举行的中国这10年系列主题新闻发布会的第18场，介绍新时代全面依法治国取得的历史性成就，并回答各位关心的问题。全面依法治国是
Law-based
4个全面
governance
战略
is
布
an
局的
important
重要内容，
part of the
包括
four-pronged
立
strategy,
法、
which includes
执法、
legislation,
司法、
enforcement,
普法等
justice
各方面的
and
环节。
law awareness.
中央全面依法治国委员会
The
办公
Office
室
for Commission
具体
of
负
Law-based
责
Governance
组
is
织
in
研究
charge
全面依
is in
法
charge
治国重大问题，
of organizing the
统筹
studying
协
of
调
major
督
issues
促
concerning
落
law-based
实相关
governance,
重大决策
coordinate,
部署。
supervise and implement
全国人大
major
常委会
decisions and
法制工
deployment.
作委员会
The MPC
国家市
Commission
场
of
监管
Legislative
总局
Affairs, the State
最高人
Administration
民
for
法
Market
院
Regulation,
和
the
最高
Supreme
人民
People's
检
Court
察
of
院
Justice, and the
司
Supreme
法部
Procuratorate, and
具
the
体
Ministry
负
of
责
Justice
立法
are in charge
执法
of legislation,
司法
law
和
enforcement,
普法相关
judiciary
工作。
affairs, and law
出
awareness.
席今天新闻发布会的几个单位都很有代表性，
We have some
包括
representative
国家市场监管总局
organs coming
这
today
个领域
with us,
执法是
including
非常
the
重要
law
的
enforcement
执法机关，
in market
关系老百姓
regulations.
切身利益。
It is highly related
下边
to
我
the
介绍一下
interests
出席今天新闻
of
发
our
布会的
people.
各位发
Next,
布
I
人
will introduce the
他们是
speakers today.
中央全面依法治国委
Deputy
员会办
Director
公
of
室
the
副
Office
主
of the
任
Rule of Law,
司法
Commission
部
of the
部长
Central
唐
Committee
一
of the
军先生，
CPC Minister of Justice, Mr. Tang Yijun,
全国人大常委会委员
Member of the
法
Standing
制
Committee
工
of
作
the
委员
National
会副
People's
主任
Congress,
许
Deputy
元彪
Director
先
of
生，
Legislative Affairs of Commission,
最高
Mr.
人
Xu
民法
Anbiao
院副院长、
Justice
二级
and
大法
Vice
官
President
高
of
景
the
洪先生，
Supreme People's Court, Mr. Gao Hong,
最高人民检察院副检察长、
Grand
二级大
Prosecutor,
检察官
Prosecutor
陈
and
国庆
Deputy
先生，
Prosecutor
中
General
央
of the
全面依
Supreme
法治国
People's
委员会办公室
Procuratorate,
成员、
Mr. Chen Guoqing,
司法部副部长
Member
熊选国
of
先
the
生，
Office of the Rule of Law Commission,
国
Mr.
家市场
Xiong
监管
Xuanguo,
总局副局长、
Vice Minister
国家
of
反垄
the
断局
State
局长
Administration
甘
for
霖女
Market
士。
Regulation,
下
Ms.
面
Gan
我们
Ling.
先请唐一军先生介绍情况。
Next, I'll give the floor to Mr. Tang
先生
Yijun.
们
Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the press,
下午好。
good afternoon.
非常欢迎
I
大
would
家
like
来参
to
加这个
express my heartfelt thanks
衷心感谢各位
to all of
成员
you
各位
and thank
朋
you
友
for
长期
following
以来
and supporting
对全面依法
the
治国
work
工作的
of
重
law-based
视关
governance.
心和支持。党的18大以来，
Since the 18th
Xi Jinping
CPC National
同志
Congress,
同样
the CPC
将
Central
全面依
Committee
法
with
治
Comrade
国
Xi Jinping
纳
at
入
its
4个
core
全面
has
战略布
integrated
局
law-based
统筹
governance
推进
into the four-pronged
党的
comprehensive
18届四中
strategy.
全会
For the first
第
time,
一
the
次
fourth
以中央
plenary
全
session
会
of the 18th CPC
专
Central
门研
Committee
究
had a
全面
special
依法
plenary
治国
meeting on law-based governance,
180
deploying more than
多项重大
180 major reform measures.
党的
The
19
18th
大
National
描绘了
Congress has drawn a
2030
grand blueprint
基本
for
建成
basically
法治
building
国
a
家
law-based
法治政
country,
府
law-based
法治社会
government,
的
and
未来
law-based
蓝图
society by 2035.
党的19届
The
三
third
中全会
plenary
决定
session of the
组建
19th
中央
CPC
全面
Central
依法
Committee
治国委员
decided
会
to set up
加
the
强
Commission
党
for
内法
Law-based
治中国
Governance
建设
to
的
strengthen the
集
party's
中统筹
centralized and unified leadership over the
2020
building
年
of rule of
11
law in
召开的
China.
中
In
央
November
全面依法治
2020,
国
for the
工作
first
会
time, a
第一
central
次
work
与党
conference
中央
on
工作
law-based
会议
governance
主
was
席
convened
研究
to study the subject,
全面依法治国
clarifying the guiding position
明确习近平
position
法
of
治思想的
Xi
指导
Jinping
意
thought
愿
on the rule of law. We
党
honestly
的
feel
18大以来的
that
10年
in this
是全
decade,
面依法
the
治
thought of the
国
rule of law
思
has
想
led
领
the
航
way,
举旗
and
定
the
向的
layout
10年
and pillars were put up,
是谋篇布局
and great
立柱
achievements
架梁
were
的10
made.
年是着力奋发成就辉煌的10年 习近平法
The
治思
guiding
想的指
position
导
of
地位
Xi
全面
Jinping
确立
thought on the rule of law
在
has
领导
been
全
fully
党全国人
established.
民推
In the
进
great
全面依
practice
法治
under
国
the
伟大
party's
实践
leadership, General Secretary Xi Jinping, with the profound insight and theoretical creativity of Marxist statesman, thinker, and strategist, combining the Marxist theory and the rule of law with China's reality and with the excellent traditional Chinese legal culture, put forward a series of original and iconic concepts, new thoughts, and new strategies, which formed Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law, promoted a new leap of the adaptation of Marxist rule of law theory, and pointed out the direction for and provided fundamental guidance for law-based governance in the new era. The party's leadership over law-based governance grew even stronger. The general outline of the amended constitution in 2018 clearly stipulated that the leadership of the CPC is the most essential nature of socialism with Chinese characteristics. General Secretary Xi Jinping personally serves as the director of the commission and achieved centralized leadership, efficient decision-making, unified deployment, and coordinated advancement. We formulated the plan for the building of the rule of law in China 2020 to 2025, the implementation outline for the building of law-based government 2021 to 2025, and the implementation outline for the building of law-based society 2020 to 2025. We ensured the responsibility system of the main leaders of the party and government in the building of the rule of law, strengthened the organization of the rule of law construction in all regions so that all central decisions were delivered. Significant progress has been made in the practice of law-based governance. We adhered to the joint advancement of law-based governance, ruling and administration, and the integration of the building of a law-based country, government and society. We further promoted scientific legislation, strict law enforcement, impartial justice, and law abiding by the whole people, comprehensively strengthened the implementation and supervision of the Constitution. We compiled the Civil Code, formulated the national security law for Hong Kong, and improved the Hong Kong election system. By the end of June 2022, more than 730 laws and administrative regulations have been formulated and revised. There are 292 currently valid laws and 598 administrative regulations. The legal system of China is more scientific and improved. We continued to promote the reform of government functions, deepened the reform of administrative law enforcement system, comprehensively implemented the three systems of law enforcement, strengthened demonstration, creation, and supervision, and solidly advanced the construction of a government ruled by law. We deepened the reform for judicial system, focusing on the judicial responsibility system, advanced the reform of the criminal litigation system centered on trial, promoted the separation of civil procedures based on complexity, strictly implemented the three regulations to prevent judicial interference. The seventh five-year law awareness-raising plan has been fully implemented. The eighth is on the road, and the concept of rule of law in the whole society has been significantly improved. We continue to resolve outstanding problems in law, improving people's sense of gain, happiness, and security. The legal guarantee and service reform and development achieved remarkable results. We improved the laws and regulations, issued opinions, strengthened the legal safeguard for major national development strategies, such as the Greater Bay Area, Hainan's comprehensive deepening and reform and opening up. We adhered to the law-based control of the epidemic and contributed to the effective containment and economic development. We improved the legal system for preventing and diffusing major financial risks. And for ecological and environmental protection, we promoted the construction of law-based villages, providing a strong legal guarantee for winning the three critical battles. A law-based governance is the best business environment. We fought monopoly and unfair competition and protected private enterprises based on the law. We coordinated domestic and foreign-related rule of law, accelerated work on foreign-related laws, and effectively safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. The legal work team is continuously improved. In the spirit of General Secretary Xi Jinping's important instructions, we carried out in-depth study of party history and education of political and legal teams, strengthened the capacity building, implemented the staffing system for judges and prosecutors, and separate job sequences for police, and made our team more revolutionized, formal, and professional. We continued to build the public legal system, service system, and the legal service teams of lawyers, notaries, judicial experts, arbitrators, and people's mediators continue to grow. As of June 2022, there are 605,000 lawyers and 37,000 law firms nationwide. The National Unified Legal Professional Qualification Examination System has been improved. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, more than 1.029 million people have obtained legal professional qualifications. We further strengthened legal education and legal theoretical research, and cultivated a large pool for legal talents. The reason behind the historical achievements and changes of law-based governance of the country in the new era is the guidance of General Secretary Xi Jinping as the core of the CPC, Central Committee, and the entire party. Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, especially Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law. On the new journey, we will continue to strive and forge ahead and provide a strong legal guarantee for the realization of the second centenary goal and the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. That's all for now. Next, my colleagues and I would like to answer your questions. Thank you for your questions. Next, please ask questions. Please state your agency first.
Thank you very much.
Just now, you introduced the historic achievements and historic changes that have taken place in law-based governance since the 18th National Congress of the CPC. What do you think is the most important landmark achievement of this decade, and what impact does it have on the rule of law?
Thank you for your question. This is an important one indeed. As I said just now, since the 18th National Congress, the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core have explored a new path for law-based governance. The most important landmark is the formation of Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law. It has become the guiding principle for our law-based governance. This is a major theoretical innovation that came into being in response to the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, and it is also the latest achievement of the adaptation of Marxist theory of rule of law to Chinese circumstances. It has combined the Marxist theory with the rule of law in China and with traditional Chinese legal culture. It has profound and systematic theoretical innovation. A set of new strategies, theories, and thoughts have been put forth. This marks historic contribution. It also helps with rule of law in the new era. There are a few highlights. First, it put forth and elaborated on the fundamental issues such as the party's leadership as the backbone of the socialist rule of law, and that socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics is the right path forward. It will help promote the comprehensive rule of law in the new era and boost progress in this right direction. Second, it illustrated the fundamental points of people-centered rule of law that will deliver for and is driven by the people. It will enhance the people's sense of gain, happiness, and security in rule of law in the new era. Third, it elaborated on the issues of strategic importance regarding comprehensive rule of law as a profound reform of state governance and harnessing the important role of the rule of law in stabilizing expectations and for long-term benefits. Rule of law is also incorporated as part of the four-pronged strategy, or as you know, four comprehensive formulation, and is put into practice. Fourth, it introduces the overall goals, starting points, priorities, designs, and key tasks of law-based governance. It has drawn the general blueprint, roadmap, and working plan for comprehensive rule of law. Fifth, it raised the point of cultivating a group of high-caliber professionals in delivering rule of law, in particular, the leading officials as the key group. This will help ensure the stability and long-term success of comprehensive law-based governance in the new era. Sixth, it also discussed forward-looking matters such as speeding up the development of law-based approach and a legal system that is compatible with foreign-related work, so as to safeguard the country's sovereignty, security, and development interest in accordance with relevant laws. On our journey towards the second centenary goal and the realization of the Chinese dream, we must thoroughly study and implement Xi Jinping's thought on the rule of law and advance along the path of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. We are confident that under the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on the rule of law, we will embrace wider possibilities in the road of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. Thank you.
继续前排这位男士。前排。
谢谢主持人，我是红星新闻记者。
Thank you. Protection of property rights is an important mark of law-based governance, and it is also important for the market economy. What has you done in property rights protection? What are the typical cases? Thank you.
这个问题啊，我请最高人民法院副院长、2级大法官高景洪先生。
I will hand over to Mr. Gao Jinghong to answer your question. Thank you very much. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, the People's Courts have acted on General Secretary Xi Jinping's instructions on property rights protection throughout our work, including in trials and law enforcement. We have promoted new progress in protection of property rights. First, we have improved relevant judicial policies. We have issued normative documents, such as opinions on strengthening judicial protection of property rights and opinions on judicial assistance for the development of small, medium, and micro enterprises. We have protected equity in We have put protecting equality into judicial interpretation and case trials, avoid treating economic disputes as criminal crimes, prevent civil liabilities from turning into criminal liabilities. We also seek to make property safer and rights more secure. Second, we have used typical cases as examples. 3 batches of 20 typical cases on protecting property rights and legitimate interest and rights of entrepreneurs have been made public. Through these cases, the merits of these cases were manifested. The big truth of these cases were manifested in these small examples, giving positive energy of strengthening property rights protection to the entire society. Third, we have given play to the important role of the judiciary in protecting intellectual property rights. We continue to deepen reforms in intellectual property adjudication, protect innovation in accordance with law. Since 2013, 21 items of intellectual property judicial interpretations and 12 judicial policies, including punitive damages, have been made public. Typical cases have been made public, malicious infringement have been penalized, and an open, fair, and just environment has been created. Fourth, we have implemented the concept of proper and proportionate execution. Compulsory execution is combined with normative execution, legal punishment combined with care. We have taken compulsory measures that have less impact on the debtor and achieve more win-win results with refined execution. Fifth, we have identified and rectified wrongly convicted cases involving property rights in accordance with law. We seek to correct or rectify misjudged cases wherever detected to demonstrate our responsibility to the law and to history. Since 2017, 231 wrongly convicted criminal cases involving 287 people have been identified and rectified in accordance with law, including the case of Zhang Wenzhong. There has been encouraging progress. Thank you.
东区第3排那位女士。
谢谢主持人。南方都市报记者提问：加强医疗卫生法治建设，
Strengthening
卫生事业健康发展
medical services is important. COVID-19 has exposed certain shortcomings of our country in this aspect. What will you do in the
这个
future?
问题涉及的是立法工作，我请全国人大常委会法工委副主任许安标先生回答。
I'll have Mr. Xuan Biao to answer your question.
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for your question.
没有全民健康啊，就没有全民小康。健康啊，是人民
Without national health, there wouldn't be a moderately prosperous society.
卫生健康事业的有力保障。
And legislation and the rule of law is a very important part of health. Over the past 10 years, the country has actively promoted health legislation and strengthened the safeguards of public health. Under the leadership of the Central Commission for Law-Based Governance, the Legislative Coordination Group convened special meetings timely and timely rolled out laws. First, we formulated the basic medical care and health promotion laws. We implemented the concept of general health and general sanitation, established basic principles, main systems, and promotion measures for health work, summarized the practical experience of medical reform and hierarchical diagnosis and treatment system, contract family doctors, established and improved the community-level health service network, and established a career mechanism that connects counties and villages, promoting the flow of medical resources to community levels. Second, we amended the Drug Administration Law and formulated the Vaccine Administration Law. These two laws are demonstration of the four strictest of President Xi Jinping. We put people's life and safety, health first. We improved the management system of drug review and approval, reserve supply, and so on. We strengthened the whole process supervision of vaccine development, production, distribution, vaccination, and so on, and implemented the strictest management system to ensure that drugs and vaccines are safe, effective, and accessible. Third, we formulated the traditional Chinese medicine law, built a management system that conforms to the characteristics of TCM to maintain and give play to TCM and strengthen the building of TCM service system. The above laws was tested in the pandemic and has played an important role. Since the occurrence of COVID-19, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress formulated a plan to strengthen the legislation and amendment in public health, an achieved important progress. We rolled out a series of laws, such as the biosafety law, and we improved the biosafety risk prevention and control system for major emerging infectious diseases, animal and plant epidemics, and so on. We formulated the doctor's law, protecting the loveliest person in the new era with the rule of law. We comprehensively banned illegal wildlife trade, amended the animal epidemic prevention law, and made targeted provisions in other relevant laws. The amendments to the Emergency Response Management Law, Wildlife Protection Law, and other laws have been submitted to the MPC for deliberation. These are laws that are currently in the MPC for deliberation. It also includes the animal husbandry law and so on. We also have a batch of important laws under formulation and revision. For example, the law on the prevention and control of infectious diseases and other laws are under formulation. Thank you for your question.
好，还是东区第二排那位男士。
谢谢。封面新闻记者提问。认罪认罚从宽制度自18届四中全会作出部署以来，一直受到社会的关注。
Since the deployment at the fourth plenary session of the 18th CPC Central Committee, the lenient system has been piloted, formally established. How does the Judiciary Department balance punishment as deterrence and tolerance to ensure fairness and justice? And I would like to have Mr. Chen Guoqing to answer your question. Thank you for your question. Since the 18th CPC National Congress of the Communist Party of China, with the deployment and development and of economy and society, social security has continued to improve, and serious crimes have continued to drop, and minor crimes increased year by year. Since October 2018, the establishment of this system in legislation with the cooperation of the procuratorial organs and other political and legal organs, we have made sure that the application rate of the system has remained stable at more than 85%. We can say that the lenient system is applied on a regular basis, and it helps to promote the transformation of our country's criminal suing procedure model to a collaborative model, and promoting the transition of criminal justice from criminal punishment to governance. There are some achievements. First, the punishment of crimes was more timely and effective. When criminals admit their guilt, it helps to reduce the time put in finding out the facts and cracking down the crime. Second, the promotion of social harmony and stability achieved remarkable results. By pleading guilty, it helps to protect the legitimate rights and interests of victims. It has become the norm for defendants to plead guilty. Currently, the defendants' appeal rate is 3.8%, which is 14.5% lower than other criminal cases. Third, the rights of the parties were better protected. Duty lawyers were notified to provide legal assistance to 3.339 million person times, and the proportion of non-custodial coercive measures and non-custodial sentences continuously improved. We also provide assistance to those who are in trouble due to criminal violations. Force, fairness, and justice were achieved quickly and easily. For misdemeanor cases that are subject to leniency system for admitting guilty, the case handling period has improved, are shortened, and also saved judicial resources. However, we need to point out that leniency is by no means a blind leniency. The procuratorial organs handle cases with an objective and fair position and do not lower evidentiary requirements for admitting guilt and accepting punishment. And for those who committed serious crimes, endangered national security, public safety, and so on, and should be punished severely, they are not subject to leniency. Minor crimes which has serious circumstances were also subjected to severe punishment. Next question.
谢谢，我是经济日报社的记者。我的问题有关市场监管的。执法是依法治国的重要环节。
Law enforcement is an important part of ruling the country according to law.
息息相关。那么，请问这10年市
Many
场监管总局
law
在加强市场
enforcement
监管
work is
执法方面
related
做了哪
to
些
people's
保障人民
interests.
群众利益的
So,
工
what
作？
has the state administration done in the past 10 years in this regard?
我们请市场监管总局副局长、国家反垄断局局长甘霖女士。
Ms. Ganling will answer this question. Thank you for your question. And thank you for following for the regulation work.
在这个市场监管总局啊，从我们这个机构啊本身就是刚才唐军部长在主发布的时候说到的，党的
Just like
18大
Mr.
以
Tang
来
said,
变革和成效的
since
一个
the
具体的体现。
18th
那
CBC
2018
National
年
Congress,
组建了这个
we
市场
have
机构改革
made a lot
组
of
建了市场监管
achievements.
总局。这本身就是
The
我国政府责任
establishment
转
of
变
the
建立现
administration
代市场
was
体
in
系的一个重要的改
2018,
革
which
成
is an important reform of the
涉
result
及
of
市场
transformation
监
of
管
government
领域
functions.
的执法资源，机构包括职能。
The institutions and functions of the whole system and a team of nearly 600,000 people have been integrated, realizing one team manages law
优化协
enforcement.
同高效的这个改革
And
红
we
利啊
optimized,
持续地释放
coordinated,
我
and
想呢，以一组数据
efficient
来说
reform
明
dividends
这个改革以
have
后的这个成效。
been continuously
就是大家
released.
都知道
Data
12315
from the
12315
national
这个平台数据显示
12315 platform
就是
shows
今
that
年我们对
the
举报
average
的平均
reporting
办结周
period
期
this
是
year
10天。
is 10 days,
那么在改革前呢是多少呢？相比2018年，这
which
个办结
is
周期啊压
reduced
缩了70.6%。
by 70.6% compared with 2018.
提高了
The success
30%。
rate of complaint
那消费者的满意
handling
度呢
has
是
increased
2017
by
年改革前
30%.
是71.7分，
The satisfaction rate
2021年
of
去年
people
是
has
86
increased
分，就
from
是4年时间涨了
71.7
9
in
分，这是不容易的。
2017 to 80.6
那么
in
具体来说呢，我们
2021.
是从3个方面，也就是说3个坚持啊，来回答刚才这位记者朋友提到的，就是开展了哪些主要工
I'd
作。
like to talk
一是坚
about
持
the
这
three
个系统
aspects.
观念，
First,
统
we
筹构
adhered
建
to a
现代化监管
systemic
执法体
approach
系。
and established
我们整合这个执法资源，
modern
大家
regulation
知道，涉及
and
市场监管领
law
域的这个
enforcement
执法事
system
项啊，点
in
过
a
面
coordinated
现长。
manner.
我们现在执行是258部
We
法律法规
integrated
规章。
law enforcement resources,
这5年来改
implemented
革呢，我们制
258
定和
laws
修
and
订了
regulations,
71部。
and formulated and
也基
revised
本实现了这
71
个执
laws
法
in the
指导
past
的目
5
录
years,
行政执
realizing
法
the
程
6
序举报投诉
unifications of
平
law
台等
enforcement
6
guidance
个统一。
catalogs,
同
administrative
时也推行了
law
双
enforcement
随机
procedures
并
and
公开
reporting
联
and
合监
complaint
管与
platforms.
联合惩戒，开展了
We
行
promoted
动分
departmental
分级分
supervision
类
and
监管，
joint punishment, carried
全
out
面推行执法
classification
公示，
of credit
全过
risk
程记录
supervision,
和重
fully
大执法决
implemented
定
the
法
legal
治审
system
核
of
制度，
law enforcement
同时也
publicity.
推进了智慧监管、掌上执法等等一些数字化的改革。
We also promoted
同
digital
时，我们也
reforms
坚持了预
such
防
as
与治理、处罚与教
smart
育、执法与
regulation
普法3结合，综合运用
and
了
law
7
enforcement
次
on the
监
tip
管
of
工
the
具。
fingers.
也
We
探索一些地方
adhered
也探索啊，守
3
为不
integrations
罚
of prevention,
行为
governance,
违法
and punishment and education, and explored no punishment for first violations and no punishment for minor violations to ensure legal and social effects. We adhered to serving the overall situation and strengthened regulations and law enforcement in key areas. A total of 183 million problematic masks have been seized. 1,900 cases of price gouging have been investigated and handled, and the trade of wild animals have been completely banned. We continued to carry out management of enterprise-related charges and accumulatedly refund over 32 billion yuan of overcharged enterprise charges. We also kept the bottom line of safety supervision, vigorously standardized the marketing behavior and advertising orientation. We adhered to law enforcement for the people and do a good job in comprehensively law enforcement. We increased our handling efficiency by 60% and ensured safety. On the tip of tongue, we focused on the key trivial matters around the masses and cracked down on a fake advertisement and magic medicines. We cracked down on low-quality children's toys, illegal measurement of glasses, and protected the safety of minors. We also helped to protect the elderly by cracking down on frauds. In the next, we will continue to follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law and enhance people's well-being in all fields of market supervision and law enforcement to further improve the efficiency of supervision and law enforcement and improve people's sense of gain, happiness, and security.
中区最后那位外国记者。
我是彭博社的，我是彭博新闻社的记者。I have two questions I'll ask in English, if that's okay. First question is, China implemented the Personal Information Protection Law last year. Can you share some information as to how these cases are progressing, and what areas are you focusing on enforcing this law? And do you have any other legislation planned to protect people's privacy? And the second question is, on the anti-foreign sanction law that was put in place last year, have there been any specific cases yet? Thank you.
请翻译一下。
彭博新闻社记者，我一共有2个问题。第一个问题是关于个人信息保护，中国已正在落实个人信息保护相关法律，请问该执法的进展如何？是有什么重点？将来中国是否会出台其他保护个人隐私的法律？第二个问题关于反制裁法，在反制裁法实施后，有什么具体的案例？请您与我们分享，谢谢。
这个问题，我们请许安标先生回答。
I'll give the floor to Mr. Xuan Biao. Thank you for your interest in rule of law in China. The two questions you raised are all important. The first one regarding protection of personal information. As you know, cyberspace is an important platform for production and life. It is also a new driver for economic growth, a bond for people-to-people interaction. In the cyberspace, collection of personal information is extensive. This matters to personal interest of each and every one of us. That is why you are interested in this. We attach tremendous importance to protection of personal information. Since the 18th National Congress, the NPC Standing Committee passed a decision on protecting personal information we have rolled out a set of decisions and laws to protect people's personal information on cyberspace, etc. Through amendments on the criminal law, we have improved punishment measures on infringements. In the civil code, we have put protection of personal information as an important right. We recognize the right as an important one. In August 2021, the NPC Standing Committee deliberated and passed the Personal Information Protection Law, or PIPL. It entered into force in November last year. Taking into consideration China's national conditions and also global practices, PIPL focuses on prominent issues in the field of personal information protection and major concerns of the people. The law builds on the existing laws and regulations and improves personal information protection. It has also specified the boundaries of rights and obligations in personal information processing activities, improved the working mechanism for personal information protection. It also seriously holds accountable any violation of personal information protection and effectively protecting citizens' personal information. The implementation of this law also requires supporting regulations, for instance, collection of images in public spaces, safe management of personal information, and assessment of personal information or data that are going abroad. Relevant departments have worked out or are working on supporting regulations. The NPC Standing Committee also passed a law on data security. I would say that personal information protection involves many aspects, and we will further improve relevant systems in relevant legislation and consolidate relevant legislation. Your second question is related to Anti-Foreign Sanctions Act, Foreign Sanctions Law, which was deliberated and passed in June last year. In response to the unilateral sanctions by other countries that interfere in China's domestic affairs, the law reiterates China's basic foreign policy principles and position. It also specifies countermeasures, circumstances and targets for which countermeasures are applicable, in order to provide a legal basis to take corresponding countermeasures to protect China's legitimate rights and interests. Since the adoption of the law, corresponding countermeasures have been taken already against acts that interfere in China's internal affairs under various pretexts, thus safeguarding national sovereignty, security, and development interest. Thank you.
下一个问题，中区第4台刘女士。
谢谢主持人。海报新闻记者提问：全民普法是推进全面依法治
Raising
国、
public
建设
awareness
社会
on
主义
law
法
is
治
an
国家的一项
important
基
is
础
of
性工作。
foundational
现阶
importance
段我国的
to
普法
building
情况
a
如何？
law-based
效果怎么样？
government.
下一步还有哪些考虑？
What is the progress so far, and what are your considerations going forward?
熊选国先生回答。
Mr. Xiong Chuanguo will answer this question. Thank you for following our work. Our work cannot be done without your people from the press. Since the 18th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, the Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core has insisted on making law awareness and law abiding as the long-term basic work and strengthening the party's leadership over law awareness and constantly improved the top-level design of law awareness. The seventh five-year plan to raise law awareness was successfully completed. The eighth has been fully launched, and the citizens' legal literacy continuously improved. When people or their family members encounter unfair treatment, the choice of solving them through law comes first, and that explains people's recognition of the law. In June 2021, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council forwarded the National 8th Five-Year Law Awareness Plan. To promote the implementation of the 8th Five-Year Plan, we will focus on three aspects. First, we highlighted the study of Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law, and included the responsibility list in the five-year plan. We strengthened the interpretation of Xi Jinping thought on the rule of law and made use of lecturer groups established in various places, give full play to the role of 73 national legal publicity and other branches in the country to make sure that people can fully understand the law. The second is to strengthen publicity and education for leading cadres and young people. We developed lists of laws that leading cadres should be aware of. Together with relevant departments, we continued to incorporate the rule of law education into the overall education and training of cadres and national education system and the scope of high school and academic level examinations. Third, we highlighted the improvement of citizens' legal literacy. We conducted pilot projects to improve legal literacy in different areas, including Zhejiang province. And we continued to strengthen the cultivation of people's concept of their rights and obligations, raise their awareness of their rights, and promote the rule of law to become a social consensus and basic norm. Thank you. Next question.
谢谢，谢谢。日本共同社提问，我的问题比较大的那个问题，中国的法的概念跟西方国家的法的概念有所不同的吗？比如说，
What are the differences between the Chinese concept of law and Western concept of law?
谢谢。
How do you see the concept of law in by Han Feizi in ancient China?
也感谢我们这个记者朋友啊，对中国法治的关注。
Thank you for your interest
我简要对这个问题啊
the concept of law in China.
这个由于古今中外啊，它的经济基础、
Throughout history, different
历史传统、
eras and
还有
different
文化传承
stages
方面呢，
will be marked by were
所
marked
以
by
呢，同一
different
个概念，
economic structures,
往往
social
呢
systems,
在不
and
同的国家、
cultural traditions.
不同的民族，还有
The
不同的
same
时代，
concept
它有的时候啊，
merits different understanding or interpretation in different countries and different eras. With respect to the concept of law, I think the first sentence of the governance of China is well said. It says that the rule of law is an important symbol of human progress, the basic way for governing the country, the foundation of the CPC and the Chinese people. For people around the world, sound law-based governance meets the expectations of all. You mentioned Han Feizi. He is a representative figure of the legalist school in Chinese history, representing the culmination of the legalist school. He had put forth many propositions and viewpoints. Over 2,000 years ago, he put forth the idea of governing by law, including all people are equal in front of law. People should be taught to obey law. These are very insightful ideas. I would say he has a huge impact on China's legal system and legal culture. As we advance law-based governance, we need to carry forward the positive sides of legal culture in Chinese history. At the same time, we will learn from the best practices of others. On the basis of Chinese culture, Chinese conditions, and with a view to solving China's problems, we will stay committed to a socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. In that connection, we will step up to build a socialist rule of law system with Chinese characteristics and build China into a law-based country. Thank you.
谢谢。法制日报记者提问。过去2年里，法治中国建设规划2020至2025年，法治社会建设实施纲要2020至2025年，法治政府建设实施纲要2021至2025年先后印发实施。请问相关部门是怎样推动一规划2纲要落地的？特别是如何推进法治政府建设的？谢谢。
implemented the One Plan, Two Outlines?
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for your question. The formulation of One Plan and Two Outlines is an important decision made by the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core for advancing comprehensive rule of law. One Plan and Two Outlines marks the basic formation of the top-level design for comprehensive law-based governance in the new era. It marks the beginning of a new stage. The CPC Central Committee attaches importance to the One Plan and Two Outlines. The Central Office for Rule of Law issued 3 important measures to implement the One Plan, Two Outlines. We also specified implementation of important tasks and relevant annual work plans and documents, and formulated an index system for the development of municipal and county-level rule of law governance, the index system for building a rule of law society, introduced recommendations on developing a socialist rule of law culture, and gave opinions on reinforcing law-based governance. The implementation of one plan and two outlines is being advanced steadily. We have made progress. You specifically asked about the development of a rule of law or law-based government. General Secretary Xi Jinping clearly pointed out that developing a law-based government is a key task in comprehensive rule of law. Major breakthroughs should be made in this aspect. The Central Office, together with other departments, have taken a series of important measures to promote law-based governance. First, to improve administrative system according to law, strengthen legislation in key areas, emerging areas, foreign-related areas, promote the review of regulations and for filing, and carry out programs on the laws and regulations with regard to institutional reform, free trade zones, and implementation of the Civil Code. Over the past 10 years, more than 420 administrative regulations were made or revised, and 59 were repealed. The second is to further improve government services and foster a world-class business environment based on law. We have cancelled all non-administrative approval items. This will greatly reduce administrative approval items, and all provincial, municipal, and county governments have released lists specifying their powers and responsibilities. We continue to carry out programs to reduce certificates for better convenience, and urge local governments to handle a large number of certification-related items, effectively addressing the problem of irregular certification and repeated certification. The third is to make decisions in accordance with law. We have further strengthened the legality review of administrative decision-making. The fourth is to advance law enforcement. We started pilot projects for the development of a four-tiered administrative law enforcement coordination oversight system at different levels. Law enforcement reforms have been basically completed in market oversight, ecological system, agriculture, cultural markets, and transportation. Over the past 10 years, administrative review agencies at all levels have handled 1.909 million review cases with a case error correction rate of 13.6%. The fifth is to carry out 2 rounds of activities to demonstrate the development of law-based governments. The first round produced 40 comprehensive demonstration areas and 24 standalone demonstration projects. The second round is still ongoing. There's been a better environment and atmosphere for law-based governance at all levels. Sixth is to conduct inspection work on the development of law-based governance. The program is extended to all provincial-level governments. We have shared experience on Beijing's promulgation of regulations on immediate handling of complaints to deliver for the people and law-based protection of fishing resources in Ma'anshan City for ecological environment in the Yangtze River Basin. We have also urged the settlement of typical cases including government inaction, arrears, entrapment, improper administrative punishment, etc. More than 80 cases and 820 items of such kind have been addressed. We have urged local governments to take actions to fulfill their responsibilities in advancing the development of law-based governance. Next question, please.
谢谢主持人。中新社记者提问。打官司难呢是过去老百姓反映强烈的问题。
The difficulty in lawsuits is a problem that people have complained strongly in the past. What measures have the people's courts done, and what developments have we made. Mr. Gao Junhong will answer this question. Thank you. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, the People's Courts have reformed of the case filing registration system, which basically solved the problem of difficulty in filing cases. In order to make the settlement of disputes more convenient, more inclusive, more cost, lower cost, and choices, give them more choices, the People's Courts have established a one-stop multi-dispute resolution and litigation service system, which is unique in the world and opens a path of justice for the people with Chinese characteristics. First, we formed a pattern of co-governance and dispute resolution under the leadership of the party committee, demonstrating China's advantages. Relying on the leadership of the party, a conflict and dispute resolution mechanism with most linked resources in the world has been established. The People's Courts have established a court plus society dispute resolution system with relevant government departments, MPC, deputies, members of the CPPCC mediation organizations, lawyers, experts, and scholars, and community autonomous organizations, so as to provide menu-style services for the people. The number of mediation organizations working with the court has increased from 1,264 with 14,000 people in 2018 to 83,000 with 335,000 people, mediating a total of 29.62 million disputes. That is 51 disputes successfully mediated every minute. Diverse dispute resolution channels realizes efficiency and success. Second, we established a one-stop dispute resolution service system that integrates online and offline and creates a China model. All the level 4 courts have built one-stop litigation service centers, offering more than 50 service items. All kinds of litigation matters are resolved in the center, making it a big supermarket for litigation services. Last year, litigation service centers across the country resolved more than 80% of civil disputes, and the average time taken was 43% shorter than the first round of civil lawsuits. The fourth level courts have used a unified online service platform to support the whole process lawsuits on the phone. The total visits to the platform has exceeded 2.7 billion, making online dispute resolution a new norm. The 12368 litigation service hotline runs non-stop, taking on average 35,000 calls daily, with a satisfaction rate of over 96% and significantly reducing the cost of resolving disputes. Third, we improved the dispute resolution service mechanism, covering urban and rural areas, providing a Chinese sample. We realized cross-region case filing with more than 13,000 service outlets, and case filing can be handled nearby or nationwide. The green service window for the elderly and the one-stop service channel for lawyers have been fully implemented. Bilingual judges and Braille litigation guides have brought judicial services to all. The mediation platform has entered villages, communities, and 9,852 courts have connected online with more than 70,000 community units, providing abundant, high-quality law services at people's doorsteps. In remote areas, judges visit the villages and households and provide zero-distance judicial services so that the people can truly feel the warmth and convenience of socialist justice. Thank you.
还有哪位提问？最后2个问题吧，就你们前面2位，先是那位女士先。
谢谢。天务新闻提问，关注
Thank you.
这个反垄断监管的问题，因为在今年的6月份，全国人大常委会已经表决通过了关于修订反垄断法的这个决议。那么马上到来的8月1号也将开始实施新的反垄断。
The 1st of August, a new antitrust law will be implemented. And I also noticed that the anti-unfair competition law is being revised. What will be the progress going forward?
国家反垄断局的局长甘妮女士回答。
谢谢记者朋友对竞争监管。
Thank you for your question and your interest in competition and anti-unfair competition as well as antitrust law. Since the 18th CPC National Congress under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core, we have adhered to the 2 unswervings and pursued development in line with relevant rules. We have sought to create a better environment for market entities to compete and thrive. I would like to make 4 points on what we have achieved in the past 10 years. Over the past decade, China has scaled new heights in building fair, transparent, and predictable competition rules. In response to the development of the market economy, as you're interested in, the antitrust laws has been revised, and the new antitrust law will enter into force in August the 1st, which is next week. This is an important opportunity today for us to communicate to the public the new law. As a matter of fact, we have twice revised the anti-unfair, anti-monopoly law and formulated 7 supporting regulations and 8 anti-monopoly guidelines. Last year, we also formulated opinions on strengthening antitrust and promoting implementation of fair competition policies, giving clear top-level design and strategic direction. It is good for strengthening policy interpretation and communication and guidance. Over the past decade, we have broken new ground in facilitating efficient and orderly market competition. 794 monopoly cases and 234,000 unfair competition cases were investigated. 3,822 cases of concentration of business operators were concluded. The fair competition review system was fully implemented. We have reviewed 4.868 million policy documents and 53,000 policies. It has contributed to a unified national market and created a good environment for the coordinated development of various types of ownership structures and medium and small-sized companies. Over the past decade, China has also made new achievements in promoting the reform of competition. We have unified market oversight systems into one big department. This has helped empower anti-monopoly supervision. We have also established an interagency meeting system at the ministerial level on anti-unfair competition. We also strengthened coordination between central and local governments to improve overall efficiency. Over the past decade, China has made new strides in participating in global competition governance. We have signed cooperation documents with 35 countries and regions, including the United States, Europe, Russia, and Japan. We have set up competition-related chapters in 10 free trade agreements, including the RCEP and China-South Korea, China-ROK FTA. China has become one of the three largest antitrust jurisdictions in the world, along with the United States and the European Union. Going forward, we will continue to coordinate market oversight and development, promote competition oversight, and turn the soft power of fair competition into hard power for innovation and development. Thank you.
谢谢主持人。中国日报记者提问：我们注意到近年来检察机关大力推进检察公开听证的工作，请问什么样的案子可以进行公开听证？
Public hearings have been advanced. What are these cases? And what impact will it have? Over the years, our departments have been deepening reforms on procuratorial work. We have allowed the people to participate in a more profound way. This is how we implement people-centered services. In the process of handling cases, the procuratorial agencies should hear cases as needed. For cases in need of review, cases not to be prosecuted, criminal appeal cases, civil litigation supervision cases, public interest litigation cases, etc., if there is a major impact, then it is imperative to hear the opinions of the parties involved and other relevant people. Then a hearing may be held. Since 2020, we have organized hearings for more than 216,000 cases, effectively promoting judicial openness and fairness and addressing conflicts and disputes. Chief procurators at all levels have set fine examples, personally presiding over hearings, making public the case handling process and the rationales for handling cases. They also explain the law and reasoning in a way that the people can understand. Since 2020, the leaders of the Supreme People's Procuratorate have presided over 15 major and difficult cases. For instance, in Fujian, Comrade Zhang Jun, the chief of the Supreme People's Procuratorate, personally presided over the public hearing and communicated with the complaint. After the hearing, the two sides have settled without being further escalated. 10.2% of these hearings were chaired by the chief procurators. In 2021, the rate of preventing and resolving conflicts and disputes in case hearing have reached 95.6%. In many cases that have not been resolved for years have been successfully settled. Thank you for your answers. Thank you all. This is the end of today's press conference.